Yo, what is going on? We are here to switch it up. Obviously, you guys have seen we've been reviewing 2025 movies. It's actually daylight when I'm recording this. It's sunny out, let a little bit of that peek through. But we're going to switch over to comedies. I have a list of like 70 comedies throughout the year that I really want to watch. I want to get back into watching comedies. Now, for a while, I definitely watched some pretty iconic ones, but I want to get back into it. We have Wedding Crashers. And this is kind of one of those movies that, like, growing up, I definitely hear about, see on TV, like, kind of running through. It's very iconic. I mean, you know who's in it. You see Vince Vaughn, you see Owen Wilson. Vince Vaughn, great guy. I've seen interviews and stuff with him. Shout out to Vaughn. He actually had him on recently. So this is actually perfect timing, and he has a movie coming out this Friday. So shout out to Vince Vaughn. But, like, he's one of my favorite comedic actors of all time. I think he was in Old School. There's a bunch of other movies. I'll pull them up, but obviously him. Owen Wilson has been in a lot of really dope films that I really like. And it's just early 2000s comedy. It takes you back to, like, some of the best eras of comedy out there. And honestly, it's just a really fun, easy watch. It's not the funniest movie I've ever seen. It's not the greatest comedic movie in the world. And I don't really know how long this review is going to be. But it's definitely one of those comfort comedies you can kind of just throw on and enjoy. So here in a minute, right after I end this section, we're going to get into what makes this such a good film. What makes this one of the more iconic comedies of the 2000s. Let's get into it. So getting into the premise, obviously the whole concept of this movie is pretty batshit insane. And that's kind of what they went for with 2000s comedies. I don't want to hold my mic in my hand because I noticed that my mic was pretty jumbly, so I'd rather just turn my audio up. But it's pretty wild. You've got two characters obviously right here, played by Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson. They literally crash weddings. They eat free food. They get a drink. I mean, it's a free party. Like, whoever gets invited to a wedding, it's not like you have to pay for the food and the drinks. And you also get a hookup with desperate single women, which is a pretty common stereotype when you go to events like weddings, maybe not funerals, which they try to kind of play on that, like the grief bonding angle. And there's obviously irony because they don't really play on the fact that they're divorce mediators. Like, they help people get through divorces, they help people reach settlements, they work at this like fucking firm or some shit. I don't really know, but they show it at the beginning what they are, and it's just completely ironic that they're here to crash marriages so they can be divorce mediators, and it kind of works hand in hand, and it's really funny. So these guys spend their jobs watching marriages fall apart and then spend their free time crashing weddings. It's absolutely hilarious. Obviously the setup for this movie is pretty damn funny. Things get complicated when Owen Wilson's character, John, actually falls for a woman named Claire. Obviously there's a lot of sexual feelings, like, oh, this girl is an absolute bombshell every time they go to the weddings, but he's genuinely falling for this girl. She just happens to basically already be engaged. She's already kind of trapped in this marriage with this douchebag named Zach, and from there, that's kind of what his journey is. He kind of wants to win her over, and obviously Vince Vaughn's character has a girl that's also in that family of this senator that he falls for, but realizes she's batshit insane, and it just turns into comedy, chaos, and surprisingly, a little bit of romance. So let's get into it. So getting into the good, obviously we're going to start with who the two main characters are, because that's what you go to a movie like Wedding Crashers for, just the two comedic giants that are Owen Wilson and Vince Vaughn. We're going to start here. This is really just the backbone of the movie, just who plays these characters. Obviously Vince Vaughn is the funnier one, no question. I think overall from a career standpoint as well, he's been in more comedic things, he's more involved in the stand-up scene. I like him more now. Obviously Owen Wilson is absolutely fantastic, probably more versatile of an actor than Vince Vaughn. Vince Vaughn's more of the comedian. He's more of the Will Ferrell type of guy, people like that. Maybe not as goofy, but you get what I'm saying. Vince Vaughn, super loud, he talks fast, he's constantly in chaos, he's kind of just getting thrown into this situation, and the fact that his character Jeremy, he's just going through hell just because his friend is chasing a girl, it makes it even more hilarious. Now obviously he liked Gloria at the beginning of the film, and then he realized how fucking insane she is, how obsessive she is, how immature she is. Like, her outlook on love is not correct, or at least not aligning to how he looks at it, and it's absolutely insane. Obviously Zach is like bullying the fuck out of him for whatever reason, and then you get Owen Wilson, who's kind of just chasing this girl, and like, they have a brotherhood, him and Vince Vaughn's character. They kind of just stick it out. He's not as funny, but he is extremely important to the story. He brings kind of just a grounded, likable energy. He actually feels like a real person. Feels like a great guy, feels very genuine, even though like their whole shtick is very fraudulent. Like, you like Owen Wilson's character because he's really nice naturally. Like, he's not faking any of this shit except for like being a venture capitalist and where he's from and all this stuff. Like, he genuinely likes this group of people, likes what they talk about, all of that stuff. He is lying his way into the situation, but like when he talks to like Claire about, oh, how should I be heart to heart? Oh, what is true love? And they have these real conversations. That's something that Zach certainly didn't do with her. And and that's why she kind of fell for him. And then obviously, you know, talking about his dad, he seems very knowledgeable about things, like he actually sounds believable, and I think that's balance is what makes the movie work. And Owen Wilson provides such a great character through his acting and all that stuff. And now just getting into the comedy of the film, there are moments that just hit. I mean, the family dinner scene, pure chaos, that's easily the highlight of the film. You know, you get into a character like Todd, who they are very forced about, like the stereotype of like this artsy emo looking kid. His hair's all fucked up and like he's kind of like a closeted gay dude. The whole dynamic with Jeremy was fucking hilarious. Jeremy's already strapped down to the bed because Gloria fucking tied him down. She's a freak. And then he comes in late at night. He paints like a picture of him with like a leaf over his dick. It's so fucking crazy. The painting was legendary. The grandma calling Todd a homo. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, that kind of humor doesn't fly today in like the current state of cancel culture, but for the time that was absolutely hilarious, and that's what you miss, and that's why you go back to comedies from the 2000s to get kind of that more raunchier, that more like balls to the wall, no filter, not giving a fuck energy, and that's great. I mean, you also get a lot of other moments comedic wise. Zach just randomly destroying Jeremy during football, like when none of the family members are looking and they're looking downfield and seeing that people make plays, he fucking just cracks the fuck out of him, and everyone just acts like, oh, what the fuck, and like Owen being like, oh, he's faking it, he's fucking drawing it out, you know, to get some sympathy, because that's what they do at weddings. And again, Gloria being completely unhinged is pretty funny. The mom kind of coming on to John, and it seems like her and the senator have somewhat of an open relationship. I mean, that's obviously a man of power. You're gonna have somewhat of an open relationship, I guess. It's so ridiculous, but it is so fucking funny. Like, she got my tits done, and she like takes him out, and like to leave the room, he has to touch him. And it's like, what the? She's like, the senator doesn't care for my tits. It's like, what the hell? It's all just like constant, awkward, uncomfortable, ridiculous humor, and that is very unique about this movie. And getting into another character specifically, let's get into Gloria, who is played by Isla Fisher. We'll talk about Isla Fisher. No debate, she's absolutely gorgeous. You definitely understand Vince Vaughn for falling for her in this movie, but her character is obviously completely insane, just coming from a personality standpoint. Not even necessarily the funniest character in this film, I think that goes to Vince, but she adds to the chaos in such a ridiculous way, and it's really fun. The clinginess, the tantrums, the immaturity, it's almost like annoying as a viewer, but at the same time it is hilarious, you know, when she's like asking the senator, who's the father, like, can they come to our house and like lay away, and we're kind of having this weekend after the wedding to like kind of hang out and do family traditions and stuff. He says no at first, and she like, you know, it's so fucking funny. She's like jumping up and down. Oh my god. One of those performances where you're like, I can't believe they actually had her do this. I can't believe Isla Fisher actually agreed to do it. She commits to it. That's what makes it work. And now that I think about it, I think this is the only big role I've seen Isla Fisher in, even though she is a pretty storied actress. You know, she married Sacha Baron Cohen for about 15 years. They actually just got divorced last year, which is crazy. The romance actually surprisingly works here. I mean, rom-coms are great, but in a movie like this, you don't want the romance to take over. This is something I didn't expect to like as much as I did. I think the whole John and Claire storyline actually works. Now, is it a little forced? Sure, but it definitely doesn't slow the movie down. It's definitely a cool inclusion. And I think, if anything, it adds something the movie needs. Because without it, this would just be nonstop chaos. And I don't really appreciate comedy films that go for pure slapstick, go for pure stupidity and like dumb, cheap jokes and all that stuff. Like certain movies, Dumb and Dumber. I like Dumb and Dumber. It's probably the best of that kind. But there's other films that attempt it, and it's just not as great. This, though, the romance, it gives it some emotion, it gives it some structure, it gives it a reason to care about what's happening. And Rachel McAdams is obviously great here. I don't really watch a lot of movies with Rachel McAdams in it, but she definitely brings a grounded, genuine energy. She's kind of a woman that doesn't know what to do with her life, and she has so much pressure being from this family, and that balances out all the insanity around her. Up next, let's talk about Will Ferrell, who makes a cameo in the last like 25 minutes of the movie. Obviously, we gotta talk about it. I mean, Will Ferrell as Chaz, this storied character they talk about throughout the film of like, oh, he's the OG wedding crasher, basically, like he made the rule book and all this stuff. Like, this is obviously not Will Ferrell's biggest role because he only shows up for maybe 20% of the movie. It's not his funniest role, but it's definitely iconic. I think the reveal alone is great. Like when Owen Wilson's character visits the house and wants to like find some reconcile like for all of his struggles as a wedding crasher, you immediately understand why people remember this too. Like, there's memes, there's quotes, just chaotic Will Ferrell energy with all of his involvement here, and honestly, that's all it needed to do. You know, the meme of, Owen like dapping him up basically and laughing. Ma, the meatloaf! Like, that's great. Obviously, Will Ferrell's a meme anytime he's on screen, so that's great. I talked a lot more for the good than I thought I would, but I mean, it's a really good movie. Getting into the bad, obviously this movie isn't perfect. There's really not a perfect comedy out there. I think that's a genre that's kind of hard to stick a landing perfectly, especially for a specific humor of a specific person like myself. I do think some of the humor is dated. Certain jokes, certain language, certain stereotypes are certainly aged. I don't think it'd land the same today, but obviously as a person that appreciated the comedy of that time, it's just part of the era. It is something I got used to growing up, you know, watching movies like this, watching movies like The Grown-Ups and all that stuff with my parents, watching Superbad, you know, stuff like that, movies from that time. I mean, compared to other 2000s comedies, I do think like the ageness of it actually holds up pretty well. Some of the over-the-top moments do go a little far. I will say that. I think that is another somewhat negative thing. Sack, like shooting Jeremy in the ass, just everything that happens to Jeremy, that almost turns into like a slapstick. That almost turns into like a National Lampoon's Vacation where they're just fucking ragdolling, and we get it. Like, Sack's a douche, like he's overly a douche. They overly play the stereotype, and it's alright because he's not like a huge part of the movie. I'd say he's about 30 to 40% of what this movie is, but at the same time, I don't really know. Some of it was kind of fucking annoying. Sack's character was annoying, and I get that's kind of the point, and they were definitely effective at making him annoying and doing stuff like that, but that's really all I have. Just getting into the mixed, I guess I probably should have put the comedy, the actual humor in the mix, because this really isn't the funniest film ever. There are plenty of movies I have watched, and I've even covered them on the channel, that are way funnier than this. And if you're looking at a comedy for pure laughs, for pure jokes, and pure stupidity and foolishness and all this stuff, I don't think this is necessarily the film for you. It is very much rounded. It talks about some somewhat real issues with like marriage and finding the right one and how desperate people can get and all of that stuff. But in terms of pure comedy, you know, giving some examples, obviously Step Brothers, The 40-Year-Old Virgin, Happy Gilmore, movies like that. I mean, even Dumb and Dumber is way funnier than this. It's not that level of laugh out loud the entire time. Talladega Nights, I would say, is more funny than this. A lot of the films that Will Ferrell did are definitely more funny than this, even though he was in this movie. It's fine. I think that's why it's in the okay, because that's fine. I mean, it's fine for this to not be the funniest movie in the world, because overall as a comedy movie, it's pretty great. It gives you a lot of elements that some films miss, other type of films miss that, you know. It combines a lot of things, and it's great. I mean, it's not trying to do pure comedy, chaos. It's kind of more balanced, and honestly, I think that's what makes it more rewatchable. You get comedies that either stick to the groundedness with slight comedy, or they stick to the pure comedy with slight groundedness, and I think this movie mixes the two of them, which is why it's a lot more rewatchable than some pretty good films. I don't think it's more rewatchable than, say, a 40-Year-Old Virgin or a Happy Gilmore, just because those stories are awesome, but you get what I mean. It's very rewatchable compared to, again, a Dumb and Dumber or like a Cable Guy or movies like that. There you go. Let's get into the review. So getting into the review, overall, I would say Wedding Crashers is just a really enjoyable movie. It's not the greatest movie in the world. It's obviously got great chemistry, solid comedy, memorable characters, just enough story to kind of hold it together. It's not a perfect film. It's not even like a super duper well-made cinematic masterpiece. It's not the funniest thing ever made. It doesn't really commit to a single thing in the genre, but it's one of those movies you can just kind of throw on and have a good time with it. Feels genuine. A lot of the conversations that these characters have feels genuine, and the laughs feel genuine, and there's a lot of relatability with some of the family members, you know, the grandma, which I didn't really touch upon in the review as much as I probably should have. And sometimes that's all that you need. This is a very stripped back comedy, and I'm very appreciative of comedies like that. And again, it's not an all-time comedy classic to me. I know a lot of people hold this as one of the better movies of the 2000s, but I mean, it is iconic for the early to mid 2000s. Obviously, I was like 2 years old when this movie came out, but it was definitely a really fun watch. I'm going to go ahead and give this like a 7.6. We'll give it a 7.6 out of 10. I think this is a really fun comedic film. Again, not one of my favorites, but I really like Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson's work, and anytime they're in a film, I'm going to enjoy it a little bit, at least to an extent, even if it's not the greatest ever. So with that being said, I am out, guys. Leave a like, comment, subscribe. I'm not really sure what comedy movie I'm going to watch next. I'll probably watch comedy movies for the next month in the background of like Euphoria coming out and all of like the new music releases, so we will definitely get into all of that stuff. I'm going to be watching a lot of comedy films. We might even get into some of the comedy franchises out there. A lot of them are standalones, but it's going to be a really fun time because April 24th next month is when Marty Supreme comes on streaming, so that's probably when I'm going to finish out my 2025 movies, as I have 3 of those, I believe, left to get done before the new Spider-Man. So I'm out.